apparently they have Boeing 707s that they have modified somehow. They're using it to refuel their jets in the air, probably above Iraqi and Syrian air. So I see where the bombardment is needed, which I believe at some point is going to come soon. If the Yemenis and the militias will continue targeting Israel at the way and the rate they're doing now, I could see Israel jumping. I could see the United States jumping into the scene very, very soon. That's what I just wanted to add.
Thanks, Cliff. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to tell, I think, exactly what's going to Trump's head. Keep in mind that this is the chap who said he would end all the wars, and, well, we're now in a major potential one. So, yeah, it's difficult to tell, I think, exactly what he's planning. Abraham Accords was his crowning achievement of foreign policy in his first term. So, you know, if they can deal a decisive blow to the Islamic Republic, which sort of alleviates the fear of the Arab states and such, then it may be a success. But at the moment, it's, you know, but it's still not sure to me, and it's what the Iranians can do or are willing to do. And Mark, I sort of wanted to come to you really because of your nuclear expertise. What exactly are we seeing from Israel strikes? What have they here? How significant is this in terms of setbacks for the Iranians to their nuclear program, but also their nuclear capabilities from an energy provision, let alone, you know, weaponry and stuff?
Hey, I want to apologize in advance. I'm actually at the airport, but I'll try to be quick here. I have not yet seen confirmed reports of damage. And by the way, I just want to say, anyone can DM me. If anybody sees a report they want to check on the veracity of, or the plausibility of, or even just inform me of something that they have missed, please send it to my DMs. I promise I'll see it, and I appreciate all the help. Anyway, so far what we've seen from IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, is they said they're watching. There's been no leaks. There's been no radiation. But IAEA is often not in a position to say much more than we want everybody to stop attacking nuclear facilities. Don't do it. It can be dangerous. So it kind of falls to others to sort out what the potential harm is. In this case, I have not seen anything yet from official sources, and I just got off the plane saying there's been damage that could lead to radiation leakage, but I want to clarify that Natanz is not a nuclear reactor facility. I think there's been a lot of misinformation overnight with people calling it a reactor, and then some people then saying that means that reactors in Iran have been hit. This is not the case.
Right, sorry about the background.
I might just jump in quickly for some news, and we'll see if we'll share it here live during this phase. But according to Fars News Agency, the Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei will address the nation in a couple of minutes. So that's something to be on the lookout, and we'll try to share the highlights of that once that happens to see and what his response is and how both countries are in a state of war, but Iran doesn't even acknowledge the existence of the state of Israel. So it'd be interesting.
Cypriot, do you think it will be pre-recorded or will it be live?
That's an interesting point. Actually, interestingly enough, and I'll share. Obviously the Supreme Leader is not in this area, but it does look like that there was earlier air defense activity near the Supreme Leader's residence in Tehran. Obviously, the Supreme Leader is not there. But that's something that I wouldn't be surprised if this was pre-recorded or he is in a very secure bunker.
Well, keep in mind also that the guy is, 85? So his health is not exactly ideal for these sorts of situations.
Yeah.
I can't see him being ferried around or making parrot statements at that time. So I think it's going to be pre-recorded, but how long and what he chooses to focus on, I think, is as critical as that. But, Hazim, you wanted to jump in on that point?
I mean, you're absolutely right. It's definitely going to be pre-recorded. I don't think they'll risk having him exposed in any shape, way, or form, including with signal intelligence. I'm really eager to see what he's going to say about the loss of failure of his military systems. Again, we have to remind everybody that according to the idea, at least not a single surface-to-air missile was launched against at this point more than 400 sorties by the Israeli Air Force. This is failure. I mean, this would I guarantee you the Iranian regime did not just decide not to protect its skies. So we'll see what he's going to say, but I think, in my opinion, or my hope at least, that he will start making the case for showing up on Sunday to the negotiations.
Yeah, just getting some news there. Thanks. The Home Front Command got basically staying in protected areas. That's what's coming from Channel 13 in Israel. So there is still a fair amount of fear about what the Iranians plan to do. I personally do think that there's going to be more coming tonight. The Iranians tend to do more in the night. Also, how many of these major escalations have we seen occurring on a Friday or a Saturday? It's insane. It's been almost every time I think there is these at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do choose to do something to what kind of gives this pre-recorded address, and then they start launching. Well, actually, Stefan, that is to you as a question. What could the Iranians do realistically? Missiles and mirages. What options do they have left?
That's really big. I mean, the only thing is the ballistic missiles. Again, here's the problem that Iran has: is that although they have the largest ballistic missile program in the Middle East, not all the ballistic missiles that Iran has in their arsenal can reach Israel. Right? If this was an attack against, let's say, U.S. military bases across the Middle East, oh, absolutely. Right? Because you have Qatar, UAE, etc. Yeah. Those the vast majority of those short-range ballistic missiles within the arsenal of Iran can reach those targets. Right? The thing about Israel is they have to use their medium-range ballistic missiles. So Israel doesn't have to be worried about a lot of these other areas, and I think that's why they're doing a lot of these targeted strikes. I mean, we've seen the concentrated strikes in Tabriz, Kermanshah. This is kind of in the western portion, and they're probably targeting those missile systems that can reach into Israel. And so that's something really important to highlight. And so, but Iran can still do it. If you look historically, at all the Iranian things when they launch, I mean, it takes them a couple of days to do it, and that's why we're probably seeing the drone launches. But I think this is why Israel has targeted the command and control and the leadership of these organizations, because they want to cause mass confusion and chaos within the IRGC ranks, and that would cause more of a delay for an Iranian response, enabling Israel, since they basically have, for all intents and purposes, their superiority over Iran already, enable them to continue to conduct strikes against these assets. Right? I think that's the goal of the Israelis. It was a decapitation strike, cause mass confusion within the ranks, and then leverage that confusion to then start striking more hardened structures and support networks, logistics, bases, etc., to really degrade those abilities.
So Steph, I mean, I think we've got Colonel Jeff on stage. I want to go to him. But I would say it's quite interesting, really. They have been quite disciplined and only focusing on the military arm, right? There's no political arm, and we know the relationship of how the two work together, especially in a place like the Islamic Republic. So very much about the IRGC fact, not the political sort of network and such. But Jeff, what's your opinion of what you've been saying today, and what now, and what could happen even as early as tonight or over the weekend?
Yeah, thanks for bringing me up. So I think the lesson learned here is if you're buying Western military gear, you can project power pretty far. And if you are buying Russian gear, you're in a lot of trouble as another nation, right? Because we've now learned from Ukraine that Russian stuff wasn't really up to snuff it was still effective to a degree. Let's not say it was completely effective. But their export variants, things that they're giving out to other nations, were woefully inadequate. I don't think that's going too far beyond the bounds, right? Or overly dramatic. And when you have 400 stories flying over your nation and you didn't down one airplane, that's a big deal. I do have a question. I don't know necessarily how the supreme leaders tie to the military is, right? So I don't know if he would be a target of an assassination if he's not somehow tied to the military, because you can't, as much as I understand Israel might want to do that, right? I don't think that they dabble into laws of armed conflict violations and things like that. So
he is the leader. Same way Nasrallah was a leader of the military.
Okay, perfect. That answers that question. I didn't know. Okay, thanks.
So we've got some some interesting information here that was just shared. Although to me it doesn't come as too much of a surprise, much like the Ukrainians giving backstory to the US administration, I think at least before Trump took over, about Operation Spiderweb. Netanyahu gave, prior warning or whatever information to the US about the strikes. Netanyahu said that Israel coordinated with the US ahead of its attack on Iran, quote unquote. He told them in advance they knew about the strike. What they will do now, I leave it to President Trump. He makes his own decisions. I will not speak for him. He speaks very persuasively and very firmly and said Iran should not have nuclear weapons. They should not have enrichment capabilities. That comes from a CNN article and demonstrates, I think, that the perceived bad relations between Trump and Netanyahu was actually all nonsense. So, I don't know. I mean, I still think there was some disagreement here and there, but it's speculation. So, anyway, that's the latest bit of information on the political front. Always go for it.
Hey, Piotr, so I just got an alert to my phone from the Home Front Command Center, and they are basically asking people in certain areas, so me living close to the northern border, they asked us to be next to a bombing shelter because there is the suspicion that there will be some sort of an attack during Khamenei's speech. So right now, this is the situation on the ground. So in case there will be anything, I will try to open my mic. But if not, then you will not be running.
Just to confirm, you're saying you did get indications that an attack is originating from Iran against Israel. That was the alert that was sent. Just to confirm.
Yes, they are sending it individually according to the area that you live. So they trace your phone, they know in which area you live, and then you're getting this warnings, and the alert said that it's because of the fear of an imminent attack.
Yeah, because we have images, and actually we had the speaker yesterday, so I don't know if we can get him back on to the Mario team. Stephen Abil. He said he tweeted a video, and you're seeing moments ago, we've seen over Iraqi cities in the western part, headed towards Jordan, and then obviously Israel. And this looks some contrails, could be cruise missiles, could be ballistic missiles. So that could be associated voice to which you were alluding to. But from the videos, it doesn't look like a large quantity. But we don't know how.
I just want to stick on this for a second. Voice, so you're there. So if I can ask, how do you feel being on the ground? Do you feel that the Iron Dome is well equipped to deal with any potential? I mean, it did remarkably well the first time round, but I feel like the Iranians are going to upscale it even more this time. So, personally for you, how do you feel being in the situation? If that makes sense.
Well, it's somehow at the same time. I'm not by jets in the air and stuff like that. The Iron Dome is less what makes me feel secure. It's more like the Arrow 2, the Arrow 3, and also new laser system of ELTA.
Don't forget David Sling.
I think we lost voice. Am I the one who can't hear
me?
Yeah, I think.
There you are, voice. There you are. Now we can hear you.
Sorry, guys. I hope you can hear me now well, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm saying that these systems, because they intercept the missiles way outside the atmosphere and also mostly far away from the Israeli airspace, I feel more secure knowing that these are deployed in the exact place. I think the Iranian mindset or the IRGC mindset is to launch an attack because they believe maybe that most of our Air Force pilots are too busy with Gaza or also with what's happening in Iran right now, and maybe it will be a good time to launch some sort of an attack. But they probably learned some lessons from what happened last time when they tried to launch cruise missiles, drones, and ballistic missiles all at the same time, so some arrived earlier, some arrived a little bit later, and they thought this is how they're going to challenge the air defense system. So that's not the case. That's not how they can challenge it. I feel safe, Piotr, living in Israel in time like this, but I'm also very about how, because war with Iran is not like a war with Gaza, and this is something completely different. And the longer it will take, the dangerous it will become for all sides, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's just very interesting to share with listeners. Obviously, you're covering this professionally, but you are on the ground. Your personal security is another element. So appreciate that. But Hazem, did you want to jump in and then we'll go to you, Jeff?
Yeah, real quick on retaliation. The key point when it comes to retaliation, it needs to be proportional. And Iran has nothing remotely proportional to what has been done over the past few hours and continues to be done. There's another aspect that, for one, Iran's tried to retaliate already with 200 drones, all were shot down. Obviously, the response from Iranian arms and proxies, such as the Houthis, for Hezbollah, it was a very bashful two drones attempt, and Hezbollah would not want the Lebanese army to get involved at this point, and they will get involved if Hezbollah tries to do more than what they've done already. For the Houthis, they're looking at the situation, they're saying, well, we don't have any capabilities, and we really do not feel like we should be dragged into this conflict with a very active air campaign that can be very easily expanded into Yemen. Also for the Iranian regime, as you mentioned, very correctly, they have a limited amount of missiles to use to reach Israel. And the failure, now we're having this conversation, there's the illusion of the capability to respond by the Iranians. If they start sending ballistic missiles and these missiles get shot down in totality, then even that illusion of capability will be gone and they will be left with absolutely nothing. So it's not an easy decision for the Iranians to take this risk of launching a failed retaliation.
On that, right? I think it's the Iranians lost a major.
Just quickly, sorry, if I may, I think this was shared in Khomeini's Telegram channel. I'm just going to read it out just from the address, and then Hazem, you can go to Nothing Burger. The supreme leader of the revolution in a televised message to the Iranian nation said, quote, "The armed forces will make the scoundrel Zionist regime miserable." Ayatollah Khamenei addressed the great Iranian nation in a televised message tonight. The armed forces will act with force and impoverish the scoundrel Zionist regime. The Zionist regime will not escape this crime unscathed. The Iranian people can be assured.
Hey Nick, you want to hear that Cindy Stonewall impersonation? This fucking war is breaking my balls and my workers aren't showing up. I got 10 construction sites and no Mexicans.
The Iranians lost one of that.
Nelson, I want my money back from investing in this piece of shit app.
You can argue which was the plausible deniability thing. By striking Iran, or attempting to.
Grant, the Israelis have made an unprovoked attack on Israel, on Iran, and it's not our responsibility to come to their aid.
You can argue they're doing well in private contact, but the Ukrainians keep, entering their own airspace. When someone was saying, the Russians will send their air force down to scout the Iranians out, blah, blah, blah. Really? So the air force...
Shut the fuck up! When I am fucking speaking, you will go on fucking mute until I finish my fucking point! Is it that fucking hard to understand? Have a little modicum of decency!
Nobody's willing to die Iran's hill today. They are alone and they are afraid. For sure.
Boys, Jeff, you guys got your hands
No,
up.
Maya, you're just a racist
No,
and
Kevin,
down.
was before me.
But
I
I'm
wanted to say
sweet
something about
Southern
the
Belle.
Iranian
Shut the fuck up!
Jeff could go ahead.
Okay, I was trying to be ladies first, but go for it, Jeff.
You're such a gentleman. What I wanted to point out was I think earlier you said it was embarrassing what they take for targets. And I would tell you that if you're the one
Streaming here on Clubhouse.
You know, isn't it crazy? You invested in an app to restream your conference call on the original conference call app. It's crazy.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
It's Well, it's a scam. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I think they use it to vet investors and then to see how much of a sucker they are.
Yeah, soliciting investors. That's all they're doing.
And yeah, it's basically an investment scam. It's not an actual business. It's the same thing with Fanbase. Have you ever used that racist piece of shit app?
Hey, bro. How do I do that shit too? Because I don't know. Try setting up an app. How do I do that?
That's how you do it. That's how you get started.
Yep. But the thing is like, so now that Clown House charges, well, they don't charge, but I think this is going to be a pay app eventually. Even if it's just $5 a year, $10 a year, I think they're eventually going to make you pay something. I think that's what they're going to do with Chatter.
Chatterbait.
Caught by surprise that in order to launch these missiles, you'll need fuel, a special fuel for these missiles. And earlier today,
They come from China. The special fuel come from China.
Bombing also in Tabriz. The fuel, the rocket fuel depots that were there as well. So it might be the reason, one of the reasons at least why we see this delay. Now, let's sort it out.
It would be like, no, I really want to hear what Tiffany has to say. God. That was a perfect troll name because nobody knew. And they're just, oh no, this Tiffany person's pretty interesting.
Was I doing a girl's voice or did? Yeah.
You were from like the South. I think you were from like South Carolina or Georgia or something. Alabama.
I hate this app.
It's just hilarious how serious people take it.
I know, it's really pathetic. It shows you that even if you're a successful person and you take yourself so seriously on this app, like you have failed to comprehend one of the like preeminent points of life. It's like this is all temporary and you're willing to die on a hill, and really it's a question of like flexibility. People are inflexible. They're so rigid in their ego, and they demand that their projection, be listened to, and that it's 100% correct. Nobody is tentative, and everybody is just definitive or extremely rigid. There's no give in these people's houses, which is their brain and their identity. And they don't see the comedy in any of this. Which is, if you don't see the comedy, then you don't have an understanding of like one of the main tenets of philosophy is that God is laughing and smiling. So
well, that's the thing. I think people do. They don't know how to laugh, and they're taking this app to like the extreme level. Everything they take what everyone says with a grain of salt. Like
if your behavior on here is very childish, demeaning, pathetic, egotistical, vainglorious, etc., like that's how you are in the real world. Like there's no doubt about it. Like there's no online persona. That's you. Everything you say here, how you respond, how you act, that's you. So if you're a petty little obnoxious bitch, that's you in the real world. That's life. You are your words.
Yep. So what's going on in Chicago? I saw that there's like parades for this bullshit ICE shit.
Yeah.
And they're blocking like, what was it, Michigan Avenue? I can't remember, but they blocked part of like one of their areas right by the water where like you can't get past the road.
Yeah, I don't know, but they say Saturday could be like a very dangerous day. So I don't know. Stay home with your guns and your butter.
Yeah. Well, and look at the People's Republic of Los Angeles. What's going on there? Why the fuck did you say like your sister lives in Cali?
Yeah. Oh no, she lives in Seattle actually, another liberal shithole. Every major city is a liberal shithole.
That's just it. I was in Minneapolis with my friend. We went to South Dakota, wherever the layover was in
Minneapolis for a day, and we're like, let's go take a walk down there. So we went down to the Mall of America, whatever, took the subway downtown. Like, the downtown wasn't bad because like there was a basketball game going on, so it wasn't too bad. But like the Mall of America is filled with Somali Muslims.
I know.
They've taken over.
I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen how happy these young Somalis are. They're just like kids in a candy shop, and they're where they don't belong. They shouldn't be here. I mean, this is the problem in America.
That's who gave us Ilhan Omar. And like here in Michigan, Dearborn, they voted Rashid Tlaib because it's like an 80% Muslim population there.
Yeah, it's crazy. You think that these Muslim men or women would like wise up and at least get rid of that dumb bitch? I mean, you know, a lot of these Muslims, they sided with Trump over the trans pederasty.
Really?
Yeah, a lot. The Muslims in Detroit sided with Trump. They met with him. They like shook his hand.
But the thing is what shocks me is Trump's pro-Israel.
I know, but they would rather choose that over trans pederasty because they're conservative. So yeah, they looked at Kamala and Waltz and they're like, nope, fuck that shit. They would rather have their fucking they would rather have the war and conservatives in charge than have these clown people in charge. So
interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a surprising twist. I was like, how could they side with? Because I think they know what the game is that these Democrats are just ruthless war hawks as well, and maybe even worse. They are worse, not maybe worse. They're 100 times worse.
Well, you got someone worse than Lori Lighthead in Chicago. I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that it can get worse, but yeah, he's an example of a woke leftist African American male. I mean, he sits there and he talks about how, this is the way things would have been if the Confederacy won. Like, he says the most insanely stupid shit. There is no way he wins again. Like, his approval rating is that low. So like, he's going to be a one-term mayor.
You know what's going to be interesting when they start telling Chicago pension
recipients,
people that get a Chicago pension that you're like, yeah, you're not getting 100 cents on the dollar. You're getting like 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And even that's pushing it 50 cents on the dollar. But when they finally admit that they're fucking bankrupt and you take away like people's retirement.
Who knows if or when that'll happen, because they could just keep borrowing. Just in the same way that the federal government does. These city-states they do have the ability and the direct relationships, and the banks are like, you want us to lend you more money at this rate? Okay, you got a deal. Like, this is how banks make money. I mean, and the banks are agnostic too. They don't care if they're even going to get paid back. They want the transaction fee.
Fractional reserves. They keep 10% and they loan back out 90% of it. I mean, it's the fractional banking system is, oh man.
I mean, you know who is fucked? Iran. They're fucked. Palestinians in Gaza Strip, they're fucked. I mean, did you see Yemen launched a rocket and it fucking hit the West Bank? Like they're hitting their own people.
Like they don't understand that people don't support Muslim nations. Like everyone's gonna turn against Muslim nations for Iran. Like, trust me, this is not going to end well.
Somebody's calling us incels in the chat. Okay, let me go back to this extra.
Police, all sorts of vehicles, armed vehicles, stuff that are mostly being used by police officers of the regime. Once you're going to see those being under attack, this is when you know, okay, the target is indeed to at least spark a regime change. And right now, this is not what we're seeing. We don't see any of these targets being attacked, at least not for now. So I think that would be the best indicators for you guys and for anybody who is listening and trying to understand what is going on. As long as these targets are untouched, this is obviously not the objective of those who are committing the attacks.
Yeah, I think it's sort of right, boys, indirectly incentivizing the Iranian people to do it of their own accord, right? The thing that Iran does have, which a lot of countries don't when you're talking about the day after, is, take Gaza, for example, right? We don't have a clear idea of who would govern the Strip or Palestine as we do in Iran. You've got the Crown Prince, and we've got a clear sort of diaspora of people who could contribute towards creating a post-Islamic Republic kind of government and leadership and lead to elections and whatever. And that's clear, but sort of how do you get from now to that is sort of the key question. And obviously, Israel doesn't want to be the one to sort of take out the leaders and such, because that's a whole different element to getting the people on the ground to sort of do it for themselves sort of thing. So I think that's a really crucial point. Talking about the political direction of things, and Wajid, I know you joined the panel. It's like great contribution from you in class. I'm curious what your take is on everything going on.
We have the greatest military in the world. Nobody can beat us as long as we have our right leadership.
Has been long coming. I've heard people talk about this kind of attack since 2018, and it's been back and forth between Israel and Iran. When I received information,
do you mind if I be really rude and just interrupt you with some important news? It may influence what you say next. Thank you, mate. Basically, President Putin, considering I was making comments about Russia just now, has spoken to both, interestingly, President Massoud of Iran and Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, obviously, Russia has a, should we say, complicated relationship with the Israelis. It's not great, but it's not sort of dead. They've obviously had to navigate each other in the Syrian airspace over the years. So I'm very curious to see what he would have said, and also how Russia's thinking about it. Another piece of news is reports indicate Israel has identified preparations in Iran to launch about 100 ballistic missiles. So our sort of guesses of, bigger non-drone type things, i.e. ballistic, do seem to be on point. Going to be interesting to see, if that follows through. We're waiting to verify that from more sources, but that's sort of some speculative information for you. But Wajid, thanks for being here.
It will take them 12 minutes to get here. 12 minutes.
I've had people from my own sources in the Saudi military who told me that from insider sources that didn't want to identify themselves, that there was some assistance from the Saudi airspace to the Israeli government to assist with the attack in Iran. That was information that was passed to me by someone that was in the Saudi Air Force, and it basically gives us a good idea that the Gulf countries, at least, they're all on board with this attack, and they all had some sort of idea of this attack happening beforehand, as well as the United States.
Yeah, that's not accurate. 1 second, just one thing. They were involved, but they were involved in the interceptions, not in the attacks in Iran, as far as I know. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned in the Saudi airspace itself. So they were involved, but they didn't do direct attack on Iran soil. That's correct. What I was trying to say is basically this is a sign that Gulf countries are celebrating. They've been struggling with the attacks from the Houthis for a minute. That is a direct link from Iran. And they've been struggling also with Lebanon for a while, because Lebanon is also a state that Saudi Arabia has been trying to put its own influence on for a long time. So from what I've seen, only members of the Brotherhood and religious political movements have been the one that have been calling for action against Israel. So there is some sort of divide. I think Russia is too busy. Russia is too busy, and it's only going to act like a mediator. In fact, I think Russia has a lot of its citizens in Israel, so I don't know if Russia has any interest of wanting any war in this situation.
Which you also they don't have the capacity, I don't think it's about more appetite, it's about capability, and I just don't think the Russians have the bandwidth. They can barely defend their own bloody airspace, you know what I mean?
That's why the only country that said we'll step up is North Korea. Russia didn't say they're going to step up. North Korea said that they're going to help Iran. So what's clear to me is Iran is on their own, and North Korea was helping Russia and Ukraine. So I feel like the last country that they could fall on is North Korea. And they would have to pay out of their own pocket for that, I believe. So, from my own opinion,
from the North Korean side in Kursk in Russia, it was very, inconsistent, shall we say. They denied it for months, and then eventually you had piles of North Korean bodies being emerged, and then also when the Russians retook Kursk, much of Kursk, it was finally revealed that they did. I do wonder how much North Koreans would get involved, as much of their industrial capacities are already supporting the Russians. And then obviously there's the distance proximity thing. It's quite easy for North Korea to deliver to Russia because it's just over the Russian airspace. But here you've got to go through other countries, and it's a bit more complicated, delivery path. So
I think Iran's biggest mistake is that they started too many war fronts, and they wanted to support too many of their proxy groups without wanting to take any responsibilities for it. And, they couldn't look forward to seeing that one day that all their proxies group could be dismantled and they would be the last person standing, and that's where we're left at, checkmate. So I think Iran is going to be looking at the end of its life here pretty soon, and maybe for a new regime. At least that's what both countries are hoping for.
Yeah. Interesting though, the reports earlier saying that they're going to condemn the events, activities actions by Israel. So,
They say that they're calling the
conversation.
They've been having very close relationship with Israel behind closed doors. They always say that we condemn the actions of Israel, but then behind closed door, they're having cheers and they're drinking glasses of champagne. Let's
non-alcoholic champagne. Non-alcoholic champagne.
Non-alcoholic champagne.
With the Formula Ones in town, isn't it? Boy, if you wanted to jump in, or James, I saw your hand up as well. You got any news?
Nothing on my end. Yeah.
So just can you voice maybe do a summary again for us? So sort of the Israelis were launching a subsequent round of strikes along certain targets, right? How long did that last? What was the fallout from that in the past hour and a half?
Oh my God, you really tackled me. It's hard to get that from from the back of my head here. But yeah, there were 2 waves of attacks. About 200 Israeli fighter jets were participating in each and every one of them. Of course, the first one was hitting the chain of command, which had the entire Air Force leadership meeting in one place. This is something that has to do with the Mossad. There was a lot of intelligence work happening on the ground to get them all to be in the same room, and then to conduct this target. Then you had, of course, a lot of attacks on you had the Iranian Tehran International Airport, you had Natanz, you had Perchin, you had, I really cannot pull them out of my head, computer. I need to look at what got hit.
It's all right, don't worry. I know I put you on the spot there. It was more just generally what we've seen, which was 2 rounds, and now we're waiting more effectively for the Iranians to respond. Is that sort of the...
Yeah, we're waiting for them to respond, and we are. You see that we are prepared for it. This is a little bit less talked about, but also the Israeli Air Force is operating on the Iraqi-Syria border, also to prevent from the Iraqi Shia militias to somehow participate, because, like James was mentioning earlier, Hezbollah is off the menu at this point, so they're not going to participate, at least not according to what it looks like. So The IAF is also operating there. Of course, there are extra batteries of David Sling, Arrow 1, Arrow 3 air defense system, and also there are tailored warning of the home front command as well that is also alerting regarding the areas of living. And we constantly get reports about launches of drones, couple of here, couple of there, that are approaching Israel, but none of them really penetrated the Israeli airspace. So this is why it's not big headlines with everything that is happening right now. And I think, this is what is happening right now, basically. A little bit of nuclear component facilities, ballistic missiles, launchers. And I think the most interesting thing is that in the initial wave, and I think this is what people should really focus on right now, the Mossad was able to establish for months now launching pads from trucks within Iran, that those drones, those Israeli drones, were actually attacking the air defense systems first before we even saw the big air company. And I think this is what's the most interesting part in this entire action. It's not just the Air Force, it's what the Mossad have managed to establish on the ground as well.
True, indeed. I think it goes back to what I was saying about the Ukrainians and the Israelis sort of, I don't know if they're directly learning from each other, so to speak, but it's, you know.
They do.
They do? Yeah, I thought so. But no, I mean, running with your theme of sort of on the menu, I mean, you know, Iran's reeling as you get, and the Israelis are largely, you know, feasting. They're eating away at assets that the Islamic Republic have, and well, they just don't. I mean, if they're going to shoot a bunch of ballistic missiles, it seems a little bit underwhelming. Obviously, trying to jinx anything, but you know,
it's only enough that fuel goes through. All the fuel can come through and make really big damage if they hit our target.
Absolutely. No, I know. I'm not trying to play that down. It's just, you know, for all the talk that they make all the time, rhetoric. It's underwhelming in the face of things. But James, you put your hand up. I'm sure you want to make some points.
Yeah, I want to make a point about the region. So right now in the situation we are in at the region, the escalations around the region, Iran's position is they want to be the strongest person north of in the North Levant, and that's their position. You have Saudi Arabia was getting more and more control in the peninsula and in North Africa, and now Iran needed to be positioned as a strong person in the northern part of the Levant. The issue that happened is that when the opportunity was at its best, let's say military-wise, I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm saying military-wise, October 7th, the Promised 1 attack, the Promised 2 attack, when those attacks happened, we didn't see a mobilization of the entire axis around the attack. And today, that's what's happening to Iran. Iran is on its own because of the military and strategical mistakes that they did. When you attack and you want to go attack an enemy, the person you consider an enemy that's much stronger than you, and you have all those capabilities, you have the ability to go by foot from the north and from groups that are on the territory itself, so bordering the territory. You can throw rockets, you can throw ballistic missiles from afar in order to overwhelm the capability of the defenses of the enemy, and then shoot bigger rockets with the ballistic missiles into the territory. You could have overwhelmed the situation enough in order to reach this position. What we've discovered, what we've found out, is that it's paper tiger. Like the entire axis in itself have failed. It crumbled every time a decision was taken to attack a certain group from that axis. The same thing happened within the first 48 hours to 72 hours. The Tier 1 leadership is gone.
So James, we got that's always his choice of words. Trump says Israel strikes on Iran might actually boost chances for a nuclear agreement. I don't think so, quote. Maybe the opposite. Maybe now they will negotiate seriously. He still believes a deal is possible. They were close. They should have done it. Maybe now it will happen. Meanwhile, Israel admits the bombing won't fully stop Iran's but hopes it sets the stage for a US-led deal. So strike first, negotiate.
I generally don't want a deal to happen. I generally don't want the deal to happen. No, like, no one from both countries want a deal to happen.
Yeah, everyone wants it. Actually, everyone wants the deal to happen. Like, everyone wants to reach a position where Iran is abiding by a certain set of understanding and rules that they work on. But what happened is that no one could control what Iran was going to do. That's what happened before. With the damage that's being imposed and the destruction of all its malicious forces in the region, and all the effort, all the IRGC external wings and the IRGC in Afghanistan to went through, when Israelis or even American or French or UK people are controlling the land inside of Iran. Iran will get out of this through the deals. There is no possibility. The question is how much destruction will they accept to take until they reach a deal.
JFK, just jump in with something from the IDF. This is a statement from the IDF. The IDF attacked a nuclear site in the Isfahan region at this moment. Air Force fighters just completed an attack on the Iranian regime nuclear site in the Isfahan area under precise intel.
go out.
Were you surprised that Israel, because I think it's important to highlight, we have Israeli drones flying over, for example, we have video of Israeli drones flying over to Greece. I mean, these aren't stealth drones. Let's make it clear. These are not stealth drones. These are just normal drones like RM-29s that get shot down by the Houthis, right? That's why they're there. But they're freely operating over Iran. We have not seen a single image, video report of Iranian being able to shoot down any Israeli air assets. The irony is the Houthis are having more success against American drones than the Iranians against Israeli drones. And again, these aren't succeeding drones. I mean, what does that tell you? And what does that highlight? Was it, maybe the strength because one of the key targets was the command structure of the Iranian Air Defense Unit, the KHATC. Did that have an effect? Maybe it was Iranian air defense just more powerful? People talked about it, I guess it was more powerful than it really was. I mean, what does that tell you, Matt?
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder a couple different things as we look at it. Yeah, number one, they did have a very good effective strike when it comes to knocking out those aerial defense systems and all of that being pre-coordinated. It's likely some of the first things that ended up getting taken out. I wouldn't be surprised if Mossad and their drones that, being launched, didn't have a huge effect on that, on some of these, I'm not going to give specific components of what some of these things are, but for them to be able to go over and knock out some of these key components and shut those systems down and render them inoperable. When we started seeing some of the Iranian fighter jets to be launched, that F-35 isn't necessarily a cannon, dogfight. It's not really what it's designed for, right? So as those things start to pop up on their radar, they're able to fire freaking, from multiple kilometers away and just start knocking aircraft out of the sky if they absolutely need to. So F-35s can dominate every single piece of air power that one has. So to me, that's what it's at. But the other thing that I look at as well, because I've seen what appear to be images of ballistic missiles and aerial defense systems that are getting knocked out that didn't seem to be manned. And this is the part that really started to make my head turn a little bit. If they're not getting ready fully to go in operation, they're not being manned, but they're being struck, is that because people are abandoning their equipment, that they're essentially defecting when the word went down on all the leadership that was getting knocked out. So, still waiting to see.
I want to just quickly jump in. Yes, I'm going to go to you. I just want to give a quick.
But I have an answer for you, Sakia.
Yes, I just want to give a quick misinformation alert. There's a video circling around showing it, apparently claiming there's an Israeli pilot that had, his plane was shot down, took down, and there's a parachute video. That video apparently is from when Turkey shot down the Russian Su-24. That is not from this recent event. I tried to highlight that everybody saw it. People are going to start tagging. That is not from. If there's been reports in Iranian Telegram channels indicating an Israeli jet was shot down, and then this video populated. That video appears to be from when Russia lost its Sukhoi 24, not related to the current event. Sorry, James.
Guys, can you give me 2 minutes? I need to drop off. I just want to make some closing comments, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go on with them, and then I do want to jump in. We've got
not to beat a dead horse, but the whole question regarding North Korea helping, there's no way they can help. I mean, the only way they can help is sending missiles by sea, and it's not the ship that will be taken out if that attempt happens. It's the whole port that will be taken out. The other point I want to make regarding it's a very important conversation that was happening earlier regarding the oil facilities. The oil facilities are not on the target list at this point for multiple reasons. The U.S. side was President Trump has been clear all along that those should not be hit because they affect global markets. On one end, they affect American public opinion, but also there's a more important aspect that any attack on oil facilities may open at least